Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place.
I want to begin by talking about words. Reality is that I've made my whole adult life with words. I think my high school English teachers would have been shocked and appalled. But that I have made my living for all my adult life because of words and the ability to use words in a way that makes a difference. And one of the things that I am very incredibly impressed by are the words that built the foundation of our country. You know, we don't always think that words matter, that words count. But literally, it was words that built our country. It was words well-spoken, well-written, that captured the imagination of individuals who are willing to dedicate their lives to words, to an idea, to a concept well-spoken. And there are so many words when you go back and you look at the history of our country that were words that defined a moment. They defined a possibility. That they defined what could be. And those words, if we miss them, if we take them for granted, if we don't go back and look at them occasionally, we miss the real power of what we've created. Because the creation lives on in and through us all, that every generation comes and has to stand for what has gone on before to carry on the tradition of the promise that is this country. And so I want to begin tonight by sharing just a few of the words that I think that as a country we need to be reminded of on a regular basis, that we need to go and read them and remind ourselves of the words that built this country and the ideas that this country stands for. And this was written and approved unanimously. It was the Declaration of the 13 United States of America. And at the time when they made this Declaration of Independence, the United was not capitalized. It was lowercase. It was not a title, it was an experience. That they were signifying that they were 13 individual states that were united in this declaration. But the idea of a United States of America hadn't been born yet. They weren't standing together as the United States of America. They were standing together as 13 lowercase United States of America. So here are the words, the introduction and the preamble. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume through the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and the laws of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separate. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then the very last line of the preamble, it says this: it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide for new guardians for their future security. So when you think about this country, now 243 years old, when you think about this country, what are the ideas, what are the words, what are the concepts that you see are those foundational building blocks that make this place great. So if you had to pick one word, I'm just curious, if you had to pick one concept that you think makes our country great, give me a word. Freedom, okay. Equal, okay. Anybody else want to give one? Freedom and equal, that's it? Choices? Union? Melting pot? There's two of the words I heard that I want to use tonight. And not that they're not all valid. I want to use freedom and independence. All right? Because I believe that these two are the basis of what we're doing. But it's not, those two alone aren't enough, I don't think. Because in the very next document that we created as a nation, which was our Constitution, it says this: for we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and for our posterity, do we ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. And so I think for this to make sense, we have to look at relationships. Because even when we declare our independence, the idea was to form a more perfect union, right? That independence wasn't for itself. We didn't even declare our freedom for ourselves. It was so that we could be in a higher quality, a better relationship. And what I want to put that into context is sometimes we begin to think that freedom and independence were their own goals. But really, they're in relationship to our relationship with others. Like independence, you know, how many of you have ever seen like in a Western, you know, the cowboy who rides off into the distance and he's by himself, maybe he's got a dog or a horse, hopefully, if he's riding, right? Right? But he's riding off, and there's this idea in our country how much we value independence. You know, the whole mountain man concept. Anybody remember the song Johnny Paycheck? Anybody, you know where I'm going with this one? You can take this job and because I'm not working here no more. Remember that one? Right? So we have this mindset that independence in and of itself is a great value. Right? This idea that independence in and of itself should be what we strive for. That we want to be so independent so that we don't have to be in relationship. But that was never a value of our country. It was never an intent. The idea of independence was so that we could move into better relationship, that we could actually create more perfect union. And yet sometimes in the psyche of our country, we have put independence and from a really immature place where we just want to walk away. Have you ever been mad at somebody and just wanted to walk away? Right? And like you didn't get your way and it's really kind of an immature and you just want to walk away. But that's not really what we did. As a nation, that's definitely not what we did. We came up with, I think it's 27 grievances. And we wanted to make sure that the whole world knew why we were changing the game. Have you ever left a job and not really told the boss why you left? Have you ever left a relationship without really telling your partner why you left, right? And the idea is, if you don't have the courage to state out loud what's going on, it leaves a level of confusion. because you're not really in the game, right? That independence is absolutely a spiritual right, but it's not for its own sake. It's actually to move us into a more higher union, a better situation. So over and over again, I want us to look at these three ideas. And the idea that I want us to also see is the idea, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to read this. This says to, from, and with. Because the idea in freedom, it's freedom to, independence from, and relationship with. And that when we really own freedom, that we have a level of freedom to. And I'm going to talk about that more. But we also have freedom from, right? And in relationship, it's freedom with. That the ideal relationship is freedom with. When we have freedom with another individual, that brings out our best. It brings out the best that we have within us. So those are the three areas I'm going to start with tonight. Hopefully the three areas I finish with, because that is my whole talk. Okay, so independence. So independence, what we want to do then with independence is move from an immature independence to a mature independence. An independence that realizes that we have wants and needs and desires and that is willing to do them in a way that really makes sense. And one of the people that I think is probably one of the best for me anyway, is on boundaries, is Anne Catherine. And I'm going to be reading from her book, Where to Draw the Line. A boundary is a limit. By the limits you set, you protect the integrity of your day, your energy, your spirit, the health of relationships, the pursuits of your heart. Each day shaped by your choices. When you violate your own boundaries or you let another violate them, you suffer, your stuffing, I love that, your stuffing spills out of your life. A boundary is like a membrane that keeps an organization intact. It lets the positive things through. It keeps harmful things out. In a way, it operates quite differently from a defense, which indiscriminately keeps everything out. Boundaries provide a clear moral compass to keep us on track. We protect what is important, the tender parts of ourselves. Any part of your life that is not working can be improved by boundaries. Whether the organization is you, your body, your health, a friendship, your marriage, your work, or your energy, its integrity can be strengthened by boundaries. So tonight, as we celebrate our independence, can any of you see a place in your life where maybe you could be better with boundaries? Right? Is there any place in your life where you can see that having just a wall that defends people away isn't very intelligent? Does that make sense? Because it doesn't let the good in. And we actually need the good to come into our life, right? And so it's not about just defending everything out. We actually need to have boundaries so that we get to be blessed, right? But if we don't honor ourselves and our independent needs, that we actually have to have a degree of freedom from, right? So does everybody have at least one situation where you know that you're going over your own line and not really protecting or defending what's yours, right? Where you're not really honoring freedom from, right? Okay, so that takes us to freedom two. Now, freedom two is some ways the opposite. Freedom two is the ability that you have the freedom to be the best example of you. to be able to live your best version of your life. So when you're free to, it means that you actually have the ability to create the best version of you. How many want to stand up and say that? You don't have to stand up literally. But how many of you can see the benefit in really being free to create the best version of you? Right? Now, being free to create the best version of you also creates some issues, right? There was an article I read while I was on vacation. It was a 32-year-old man, retired. I'm sorry, 34. He retired with $3 million. He was an investment banker, and he retired at 34. And the article was, you would think that that would be fabulous, right? Wouldn't you think that'd be fabulous? 34, $3 million in the bank. You get to retire because you're making enough money. You don't have to work anymore. And he said, you know, there are 5 things that they didn't tell me, that they don't tell you when you retire at 34. Number 1, you may suffer from an identity crisis. I could adjust. Sorry, right? But how many of us identify with who we are through our work, right? And when you retire at 34, it's like, what are you? Okay. 2, you may second guess yourself. Makes sense, right? You've just walked away. People may treat you like a misfit. You may be surprised that you're not much happier than you were before. You may get, for number 5, you may get really, really bored. Right? So what I want you to see this, right? Because everybody thinks that once you get freedom to, once you win the lottery and you're free to do whatever you want to do, it's supposed to take care of everything. But actually, if you're just free to, it's a potential, it's a possibility, it's fabulous. But both of these over and over again take us back to relationship. What are you going to do with this? He said in the article, he talked about, you know, it was kind of good until my wife quit her job. Now you're going exactly the wrong direction. And he said, once my wife quit her job, it became fabulous. See? Let's read this together. Relationship. Right? It's all about relationship. He said, when I was by myself, I would get so bored. Because he said, I would spend 10 to 14 hours a day as an investment banker. And then I was sitting at home. And before we had kids, before I didn't, I was 34 years old. How many soap operas can you watch? Right? And he said, but then when my wife, when she let go of her job, then we've now traveled to over 20 countries. Because why? Because now he had a friend. Now he could play. Right? So what I want us to see over and over again is that freedom and independence always take us back to relationship. As a nation, as individuals, they always take us back to relationship. And it's building relationships that are soul satisfying. So you ready for your homework? So here's what I want you to think about tonight. I want you to think about one area in your life where it's a place where you know it's time for you to declare your independence. Where you've been a little shaky on your boundaries. You've let the line get a little weird. You cross it, they cross it, everybody's crossing it, and your personal integrity is getting violated. Right? Does everybody have at least one of those areas? I just want you to look at that. It's one area where you need to be willing to really be clear about your personal independence. Now, you can just get cranky about it, right? How many of us have ever used crankiness as a way to develop a boundary, right? So crankiness is just like a wall, right? It doesn't inform the other person about your boundaries. You're just like a junkyard dog that just growls at anybody who gets close, right? So we're gonna move up the maturity guidelines a bit, right? We're gonna act like our nation, and we're actually gonna say out loud what your boundary is. Well, Richard, I can't say that out loud. What if they disregard it? Well, I'm not really worried about them. I'm really worried about you. Because the moment you get clear on your boundaries, heaven and earth begin to move. The moment you're willing to stand for your boundaries, no one can go against them. When you're weak on your boundaries, then it's a mess. So what's one boundary? What's one area of your life that it's time for you to clean up? That you've been sliding over, that other people have been sliding over, and it's time for you just to clean up. That's one. Two, we are halfway through this year. We are halfway through this year. So what's one area in your life that you know your soul wants greater freedom? I mean, we can go through this whole year unconscious. How many of you have ever gone through a whole year unconscious? How many years gone through a whole decade, right, unconscious? Those 70s, man, they were great, man. Right? So we're halfway through this year. I want you to really think about one area in your life where you're willing to claim a higher level of freedom. And not the freedom from, but the freedom to. The freedom to be the best version of you. The freedom to express all that you were created to be. The freedom to. And when you get really clear about those areas where you want to claim your independence and those areas that you want to claim your freedom, then I want you to really focus on what's the relationship that you're willing to take deeper and to make it better than it's ever been before. Even if that relationship is with you, right? I want you to really look at, as you declare your independence and as you declare your right to be free, I want you to move all of that energy that you're creating, and I want you to move it into a relationship that really creates a situation where you feel soul satisfied. That is soul satisfying to you. Because it's not just enough to do this work without taking it back to relationships. See, can I tell you one more thing I saw on TV? So on Netflix, they've got the thing called The Earth. I think it's called The Earth. And it shows the intricacy of nature and all that nature's doing. And the thing that struck me, many things about it, that struck me is that when grains of microorganisms from the Sahara Desert get blown into the Atlantic, they actually create plankton. Okay? Right? Who knew, right? So the desert, the ocean actually needs the desert. That our entire ecosystem actually needs every other aspect of our ecosystem. That only in our mind can we actually separate ourselves from anything else. In reality, we're all in this together, right? We're all in this together. There's no separating one from another, because spiritually, physically, we're all in this together. So as you declare your independence from those things that are no longer making sense, that no longer work, that no longer support you, and as you claim your freedom to actually be the best version of you, I want you to really look at what's the relationship that you want to build that's going to support you, support our community, support our world, to live the best version of us. Because we can't survive as a nation divided. We just can't do it. We can't keep yelling at each other from a distance. It's never going to make sense. But tonight, I want you to really do your inner work at a level that allows you to build the greatest relationships you've ever had, so that we can actually heal our planet. Are you willing? Will you pray with me? I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God that is right here, right now. That we open our mind, our heart to the power of independence. That we have a God-given right to claim our freedom from all the things that no longer serve us, all the things that no longer make sense, all the things that no longer support us. And we have the God-given right to claim our freedom too, to be the best version of us, to live the greatest life we can imagine, to live in a life of joy and peace and abundance, to be fully alive, to be fully in love, to live the greatest version of our life, and to have amazing relationships. That we long for them, we want them, we need them. And we give thanks for all the relationships that support us in our communities, in our nation, in our families, with our friends. We give thanks for great relationships that support our souls and allow us to live the best version of us. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.